Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous figure that has just been released. Mine is probably delayed by like a week or two maybe, but it's definitely something that has just started to release from Amazon and hopefully will start to show up in stores at some point very soon. And you can obviously tell what it is. It is the Stomp'N'Escape Tyrannosaurus Rex. And as we pan out, you can see the model looks beautiful. Such a great Tyrannosaurus Rex figure yet again. This is actually a reused sculpt, as it's the exact same sculpt as the epic roaring Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it has definitely been modified and altered with some new action features. And on top of that, this is another Dino Escape figure. This is my second Dino Escape figure, as I have previously reviewed the Super Colossal Carnotaurus Toro from the Dino Escape line, and now we have the Stomp'N'Escape Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I must say that I think the Dino Escape artwork is probably the best that we've had so far. I'm a huge fan of everything as far as the box art goes. Definitely a beautiful looking appearance to that. But again, we can see our Rex here, and we also now have capture gear, which is insanely exciting. Such an awesome throwback to the old Jurassic Park line, the Kenner line, having some capture gear, and I am really psyched to take a look at that. If we turn the box around and we take a look here at the back, we have some images that are kind of showing us what the action feature is as far as like the stomping action. And then we also have a roar and chomp. And of course we can break out of our capture gear. And then down there at the bottom, you can also see a sneak peek there of the Scorpius Rex. So lots of really cool stuff here on the back of this box. Definitely looks really cool. So let's go ahead, break it open and take a look at it. So once our Rex has been unleashed from its box, you can see the capture gear. Absolutely awesome. I am head over heels in love with the fact that Mattel is actually starting to include capture gear with their figures, and I really hope this is a continuing trend because it's something that I personally am a huge fan of, and I would love to see this continue throughout pretty much the entire Jurassic World line. As long as it continues, I'd love to see more capture gear included because it's an incredibly cool throwback to the Kenner line. And then we also have our incredibly cool Stomp'N'Escape Tyrannosaurus, and we now can take a look at it from the opposite side, as this is the side that was kind of obscured with the Rex being turned around facing the other way in the box, and it looks really nice. I'm definitely a fan of the paint scheme on this one. I have actually heard some people complain a bit about it, but I think the paint scheme looks really nice. I'm definitely a big fan of the way that they've applied like that darker brown just sporadically on the overall brownish body color of the Rex. Really cool looking. So let's go ahead and jump to a closer look right now. So as far as the Rex goes, we don't really need to take a look at the sculpt in general because we have reviewed the sculpt prior with the initial epic roaring Tyrannosaurus. It again is the exact same sculpt, and we have reviewed that sculpt in the past. So if you would like to see a more detailed review of the actual sculpt, I will include a link in the description to my epic roaring Tyrannosaurus Rex review. Basically, what we need to look at this time is anything that is new with the model, which would be the action features and the paintwork. So as far as the paintwork goes, you can see up here on the face, we straight away have a really nice looking yellow eye, and the eye does have a black pupil, it looks like. Yeah, definitely a black pupil, so that is a big time plus if you ask me, because sometimes Mattel tends to give their figures kind of like a coloration that whatever basically is around the eye is usually the color that they'll give to the pupil, and not sometimes given a black pupil, but this one definitely sports a black pupil, and they had that opportunity to give it that darker coloration as the pupil, as we have a dark brown that surrounds the eye, but Mattel did give it the black pupil, so I'm really happy about that. You can also see a really nice tone of brown for the primary body color of our Rexy figure here, but you can also see a nice darker brown that borders around the eye and even runs up into the palate a little bit, and I really love that aspect of the model because you do see on the Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex, you do see some darkening around the eye, so they have captured that quite nicely in this figure right here. You can see the teeth are a little weird looking, honestly, on this one. I don't know if like the teeth are just down too far, but it looks a little strange. It doesn't look quite as nice as what we usually see on this style of Tyrannosaurus Rex from Mattel. Maybe it's just mine. I'm not entirely sure. Let's take a look at the other side. The other side definitely looks better. So this side looks actually really quite nice. Go figure, this would be the side that's sticking out facing us, and then the other side would have been hidden a little bit. But it does look quite nice on this side, just a little iffy on the previous side. And they are kind of given like an off-white, actually almost like an ivory type color. It looks really legit as far as the coloration of the teeth. The eye on this side as well is really nicely painted, definitely placed beautifully, so there are no quality control issues as far as the placement of the eyes, or at least on mine. If we open the mouth, it's probably going to roar. I was wrong, look at that. I was a little concerned with that. You can see the teeth here on the lower jaw look really quite nice, and the tongue as well is painted beautifully with a very nice realistic tone of like a pinkish coloration. And then if you look here at the inside of the mouth up there, everything is all given that really nice pinkish coloration. It looks really good on the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and both the eye and the inside of the mouth as well as the teeth include a really nice realistic gloss coat. You can also see more of that darker brown running down here, like right behind the eye, down near the eye socket area. So if we take a look here at the top of the head, you can see some of that darker brown showing up here, and you can see how sporadic it is. Like there's no specific design as far as the placement of that dark brown. It's just kind of everywhere, and I absolutely love the way that they've done that, because I feel like it looks really nice, really natural on the figure overall. The only downside is that once we reach here, right before the rest of the tail, it cuts off, and then we only have the normal like body color, that brown that we have for the primary body color. We don't have any more of that darker brown, and as usual, Mattel does do this quite often, but I really would have liked it had they actually ran the darker brown, that kind of like burnt umber brown, out onto the tail. It would have been a nice touch. We do have some of those kind of trademark Mattel speckles, as we have like a light, almost a khaki or a beige of some kind with the speckles showing up. So this Rex does in fact have a speckling to it. And then here on the underside, like the lower jaw, you have like a yellowish brown, and then you can see that continues down the course of the underside of our Rex. But just like the darker coloration on the top, it cuts off right there, actually a little sooner, I would say, than, yeah, see, this almost reaches the tail. This here is like in the pelvic area, and it cuts off right there. So unfortunately, again, we don't have that underside color running the entire course of the figure, but that as well is something that's quite common with Mattel. You can see the Jurassic Facts app right there if you would like to add this to your collection. And you can also take note to the fact that we do have toenail paint right here on our Rex, but in even more of an exciting news as far as this model goes, we also have fingernail paint. So that is insanely exciting, something that Mattel doesn't do very often, and it makes a world of difference as far as the overall beauty of the figure. Absolutely love that Mattel has added nail paint there to the hands. But aside from that, that's pretty much everything color-wise with our Rex, and it definitely is a gorgeous-looking interpretation of a Tyrannosaurus paint-wise and sculpt-wise. And then we have our capture gear, and the capture gear is really quite nicely detailed. It's not super highly detailed, but it does look pretty good for the most part, and it sports a really nice silver coloration for the capture gear as well. And again, I'm really happy that they have added this in with this figure, and I know the Carcharodontosaurus as well has capture gear, so I'm hoping that this is again a continuing trend from Mattel, but a really cool extra, and I cannot wait to see it in action right now. So as far as the action features of our Rex goes, we've got the button up here on the top, which is going to activate our roaring feature. Actually goes a little too high for the camera to even see. Beautiful Rexy noises for sure. So that is definitely a really cool action feature. I really love that. Definitely something that's nice to see because it's new, it's fresh, and Mattel is really good at continuously coming up with new gimmicks for their figures, and that is definitely a nice one. And then, of course, we have the Stomp'N feature, so we'll use the tail for that, I believe, and we have to do this. So that's really cool as well. That's definitely something that's very unique and different, and I love that it actually makes the stomping noise as it goes. And although it's a little hard for me to actually control that from way back here, I actually have to have the camera pretty far away from the Tyrannosaurus because he's so big to try to get him mostly in frame, and I'm sure it would look a little more smooth if I were closer to it, but it does work really well. That is incredibly cool. Definitely a very unique and different and fresh action feature for your Tyrannosaurus, as we have two really cool action features. But then we also have our capture gears, so we'll slide that onto the head and we'll knock them off. I almost broke the capture gear open immediately, and we'll take a look at the actual release of the capture gear right now. So that is definitely really cool. Let's do that again one more time. Oh, I knocked it open again. There we go. So we'll do it one more time right now. So that is super cool, and that is definitely a really cool action feature and kind of a gimmick, even with the capture gear breaking off as well. Something that I think is an awesome playability factor to it that kids and collectors alike will definitely be a big fan of. As far as a size goes on our Rex, let's get the tail in frame here. So for a length from the snout to the tail, you were looking at about 21 inches or about 53.5, closing in on 54 centimeters. So a very sizable Rex. And then for a height to the top of the neck, you were looking at just over 7.5 inches or about 19.5 centimeters. So a very nicely sized figure. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our Stomp'N'Escape Tyrannosaurus Rex, and you can probably get a pretty good idea of the size of the figure, again, with these guys in comparison. An huge Tyrannosaurus Rex, an absolutely huge Rex for sure, like usual from Mattel. And if you happen to have the Epic Roaring Tyrannosaurus, again, you'll already have a really good idea of what the size is, because it's pretty much the same figure, just retooled with new action features and a new paint scheme. So if you happen to have the Epic Roaring Rex already, then you'll already know what the size of this one is. But if not, hopefully these guys in comparison will help you out. So this brand new Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous Dino Escape Tyrannosaurus Rex is awesome. Obviously, following with the Dino Escape name, we have the ability for our Rex to escape the capture gear. And that's the only thing that's a little worrisome to me, is the fact that this line is called Dino Escape. So that means once this line is over, will the capture gear go away? I hope not. Fingers crossed it doesn't, because I love it. But again, the capture gear of this Rex is really cool. It definitely works very nicely. Again, giving you a super cool Kenner throwback feel as far as like the Jurassic Park toy line goes. And there is never ever going to be a time that you're going to hear me say that is a bad thing, because any type of a Jurassic Park Kenner throwback is incredible, if you ask me. And having capture gear with our Mattel figures, finally, after quite a few years of this line being out, is insanely cool. And the fact that it breaks open with the Tyrannosaurus kind of roaring is about as epic as it gets, and is also a really cool factor of this toy. You also have a really nicely sculpted Tyrannosaurus. Again, I was a huge fan of this sculpt on the Epic Roaring Rex, so I'm a huge fan of it here. I think it's one of the most beautiful Tyrannosaurus sculpts that we've had from Mattel yet, and the detailing aspect of this model specifically is really vibrant in comparison to a lot of the others. Like, it just feels like there's so much more detail included on this newer sculpt in comparison to some of the olders, like the older Extreme Chompin' or the Thrash and Throw, stuff like that. This definitely has a lot more detail, and it's a lot more vibrant on this model. And again, sports a really nice size overall, so it's impressive in that aspect as well. And the paintwork is probably one of my favorites so far from Mattel for the Tyrannosaurus. The only thing that could have made it a little better would have been that darker paint running out onto the tail, but that's something that I pretty much say every single time I review a Mattel figure, so that is definitely not a surprise. As far as this one here goes, I really would have liked for a little more paintwork on the figure, but what we did get is still really nice. And we also have painted nails on the hands and feet, so that is even more incredible. So Mattel definitely is doing a great job of listening to what we say, but I hope that they will start to include more paintwork out onto the tail in future releases, because that's something that I really think could make a world of difference on their figures. The overall action features to it is really cool as well. You have quite a few, as you have that kind of roaring and rearing up type of a gimmick with the Rex that roars, which also is the same action feature you use to break open the capture gear. And then you also have that cool stomping feature, and both of the action features included here include noises, as you have some gorgeous sounding Rex roars, as well as the stomping sound for the legs. And all of the action features work perfectly, and they're both really innovative, I think, really new and fresh, so that is also a huge plus as far as that goes. So as usual, Mattel pulling out another win, if you ask me, and this is definitely a really nice looking and really cool overall Tyrannosaurus release from them, for probably like the 1,000,000th time, because we have had quite a few Rexes, but I don't think I'll ever get tired of Rexy figures, so I'm okay with it. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to Amazon.com where I had purchased mine. Last time I had looked, it was sold out, so hopefully it'll come back into stock at some point very soon. If you have not purchased it, I definitely recommend picking it up because it is a really cool release, again, from Mattel. So make sure you check the link in the description, make sure you pick this up when it is available, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.